By the end of 1 hour, I believe we'll be able to make considerable progress. Okay, so please let me know when you can see my screen. Could you confirm that?
Yeah, I can see your screen, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to begin by introducing the tools we are going to be using. First is what is called an IDE. It's short for Integrated Development Environment. So even if you normally you are used to Microsoft Word, Excel, Google Docs, they are text processors, or if I should say word processors, right? When we want to write code, even if code is still text, we use specialized environments to make our writing easier. What's one of the key differences is that computers are able to um, understand what you write in a programming language if you do it correctly anyways. We have different languages, and the way to really identify the files is simply what is at the end, like what is it saved with. I know many of you know a Microsoft Word file is docx or doc. Yes, I think PowerPoint slide is PPT. So when we write code, the language you are writing determines it. For Python, a Python file should be saved with py.py. So that's what a Python file is saved with. Okay, so this integrated development environment is what enables us to write, or what eases our writing of code. To be honest, you can create any file even from your terminal, from a notebook if you are using Windows, and then just save it as .py, and it will qualify as a Python file. Okay, but these IDEs help us ease the process of writing because it has a lot of built-in features already. Notably, it helps us compile the code and then easily read it. Of course, I'm not supposed to that may lead me to a lot if I start trying to explain how computers compile the code. But you just know that in the end, everything that you do in a computer ends up as zeros and ones, and you want to be able to get it to that point. So a compiler, interpreter, and all those things—that's what they do. Okay, and IDEs has all those things inside it. You just create the file, or rather start the project, create the file, and you are good to go. Okay, so if you can see my screen, what you should be looking at is PyCharm IDE I just started. Okay, for those of us using a laptop, I presume that you already have the PyCharm IDE installed. Okay, so when you open it, this is most likely what you are going to see. If you haven't started a project before, everything here will be empty. These are projects I have opened previously. All right. So to start a new project with PyCharm IDE, I think some of you also use VS Code. I decided to use this because I think this is focused on Python. It's very nice, very easy to use. VS Code actually has a lot. I think many front-end developers still use VS Code. In fact, many persons start their program with VS Code. But for specialized languages, I always love these products from JetBrains, PyCharm, IntelliJ, and things like that. You could check out JetBrains. You can browse about it to know what JetBrains is about. They mostly produce specialized IDEs for different languages. So this is their IDE for Python. Yeah, this is what it is. Okay, so I am going to start. Okay, yeah, I think someone asked me what to download. If it was the community edition. So there are two versions of PyCharm. I would prefer you download the community edition because we really don't need any of those complex things in the ultimate one. But I heard that that's been integrated into one. So it really wouldn't matter much. If you haven't paid, you won't get access to the paid features. So yeah, they are very similar. Okay, so to start a project in Python using PyCharm, once you open it, you can see this is also similar to what we had before. You just go to new project, right? And then I want it to be a pure Python project. Okay. If you are starting it for the first time, it may be that you don't have Python installed on your system. You need to allow it install. Of course, if you are new to tech, many things keep improving, and so we keep updating the versions continuously. As at this point, I think Python is somewhere around 3.13 or so, but it wouldn't matter too much to our class. You could use anything from 3.10 upwards, right? Even if you use 3.8, I don't think you have a problem with this class. Okay, so you could use any of those. So just in case you don't have those installed, like you don't have Python installed in your system and you are using PyCharm, you could just click here and it will let you know the version, or it will help you download the version that you need to download. Okay, what I would want to do is to actually give a name to the project. Let's call it yes, I'm going to call it intro.py, intro project. Okay, right, and then I click on create. Okay, so it's indexing the file, right? So this is how to start a project using PyCharm, right? So when you start your project, you want to tell the computer what to do. For those of you who are using the Exorcism IDE, it's basically all of this is done for you. You just need to write code and press run. So you don't need to bother about this. But please pay attention. Yes, when you are ready to use your laptop, you need to get used to these things. All right. So this is how to start a project on an IDE. The process is the same or similar if you are using VS Code or any other IDE, provided that IDE could deal with Python. Okay, so I'm going to begin with the basics, just exactly the way it is in this note. What is a program? A program basically is a set of instruction that is passed to a computer, and then it's executed, right? In order for those instructions to be executed, it has to be compiled or interpreted, and then of course, if it will be compiled and interpreted, there are certain rules that you have to follow. In programming, we have both high-level languages and low-level languages. A low-level language is something that is very close to 0 and 1, right? But high-level languages are a little bit distant from it, and Python does qualify as a high-level language. Like even if it's not plain English, it is closer to plain English than 0 and 1. So Python qualifies as those, right? So basically, that's what the program is, and for everything we'll do in this class, we'll be using the programming language called Python. Okay. Then also the next thing, if you are learning any language at all, sometimes we just want to say things and we don't want the IDE, yes, to mark it as a programming language. We just want to say something to ourselves when we are writing, right? And so any language you are learning, normally there's a way to write a comment. For Python, it's actually very simple. All you have to do is put hash. That's all. Meanwhile, there's also something called docstring, which is I don't think that occurs in this note, but yes, docstring is multiple. I think I'll just give an example of it. Okay, so what I'm doing, I believe you can still see my screen. What I'm doing is Command N on I'm using a Mac. If you're using a Windows, I think it should be Control N. But just to save you all that stress, what you can do is simply to right click, you say new, and then you choose what you want to create. For me, I want to create a Python file. So what should I call this file? Again, I will call it intro. Okay, I could add .py there, but I think it does it automatically because I'm using PyCharm. Okay, so even if I called it intro and I had indicated that I want to create a Python file, so what it did was to just add the py for me. Okay, I think if you are using VS Code, there are also some things you may not find easy, but because this is PyCharm, everything works as expected. Okay, so one of the very simple things that we do in any language when we start learning it is to basically just find a way to print hello world. So I've done this in multiple languages, and I'm smiling because it looks very easy, but yes, that's how to begin learning any language, right? So in PyCharm, when you finish writing whatever you want to write, this is how you run the file. I'm running the current file, and then I just click on play. You can see here. So please confirm you can see my screen and you can see hello world.
Yes, I can see your screen and I can see hello world.
All right, awesome. Okay, so again, if I maybe remove the D and I click on play, you see the D has gone. So this is, for some of you, this may be your first program, but this is how to code. This is basically it. All I had done to the computer now is to, hey, please print hello world. This looks very simple, but trust me, it's not as easy as it is in some other languages like Java, for instance. Trying to print hello world may cost you, more number of lines than you thought. Okay, so but this is what a simple program is. Now, what I want to do is what I need to tell you first of all that you can do a lot of things. You can pass a lot of instructions to the computer. If you don't tell it to show you, you wouldn't see anything. Like what I mean by that is, for instance, let me do something. Let me say, for instance, I should ask the computer to do 1 times 2. Okay, you see, it may be able to run this 1 times 2, but because I've not said print it for me, nothing will happen. Let me see if this is going to run. Okay, so it keeps printing my hello world. Let me do something else. Let me take up this 1 times 2. There's somebody's mic that is unmuted and it's causing some noise. So 1 times 2 is actually 2, as we all know. So let me do this here. Now I can see it because I have said, oh, print the value for me. So if you don't ask it to print it, just know that I will do whatever you say, but if you don't tell me to see it, if you don't try to log it on the console, you won't know what I have done. Okay, so that's something for you to know. So you can write a lot of code. Actually, it's going to run, but you need to say, hey, show me what you have done. And it will only show you what you have requested to see. All right. So this said, if you do something like this and say testing comment, now what the computer does is it's not like it can't see it, but it doesn't compile it per se as part of actual code that runs. A comment is something that talks to the user, to the programmer, and say, for instance, we use comments to say, what am I doing here? What was I doing here when I was writing this code? Because sometimes you can actually forget what you were writing about. It's actually very possible. As you keep writing more and more lines of code, you will see why comments can be important. So yes, that's what the program is, and this is what the comment is. I'm going to show you reasons why you may want to write a doc string later on, but for now, I believe 1-line comments will be enough for you to do any kind of comments you want to do. Okay, so I think the next important thing that you want to learn is variables and assignments. Okay, a variable is a way to keep information, right? So just now you can see what I did. I wrote print 1 times 2, and of course what it did was to multiply 1 and 2 for me, and then just keep it in here. Okay, but you see, it's probably more useful for me to keep it in a variable, and my phrasing is very, very intentional, because in mathematics, if I say that x is equal to 2, what it actually means is that x and 2 are the same thing. In programming, it's not entirely the same. I want you to visualize a bucket that 2 is inside. That's what you should visualize in programming, that I am keeping this item on the right inside this variable called x. That's how you should view it. Okay. I also want to mention that as you write code, if I call a variable anything, I think you must have seen this in the notes. It's really going to work. I could say xyz, right? Xyx. It's going to work. Let me try it. Right. Let me say print xyx. Okay. Are you seeing it's still printing my 2 for me? Just to make sure you believe me, let me change this to 3. You can see that it's now 3, right? Okay. So, but it's not advised for you to name things anyhow. You want to name it something realistic, because partly when you write code, you are writing it for people to read later on. Yes, people want to see, oh, what app have you built? And they want to make improvements on the application. So you try to name variables to make sense to you and, of course, to people who will come later on. So very often, if you are just learning to write code, one thing you see often is num. It's just short for number, right? So a variable could basically be anything. But this thing I'm saying is very important. There are some rules about it. Majorly, it is that you shouldn't use keywords as variables. For instance, I shouldn't come here and say print is equal to 3. That doesn't make sense. I think it may or may not work, but please don't do this, because print is a keyword on its own. Like, it's a Python keyword, so you shouldn't use print as a variable name when naming things. So for me, this is like the most important rule. There are other things you will see that people will advise you to do, but yes, please Don't name a keyword. Don't use a keyword as a variable name. All right. So let's go back. Let's call this num. All right. Let's call it num and proceed. I believe you could also see that at a point when I changed it, it's the print num wasn't working. It was like, what is num? Okay. So ideally, programs are written or are read by the compiler from top to bottom. Okay, so it starts from line 1 and starts saying, what did he say, what did he say. If at the end, or maybe some place after, the computer is unable to understand what you did, it complains. This is what PyCharm actually does. And one of the advantages of an IDE, this feature may not be available if you are not using an IDE. So that's one of the things IDE does for you. It's as if it kind of compiles your code while you are still writing it. Okay, if at the end of a program you are calling something that you haven't mentioned before, that you haven't initialized, you haven't assigned before, of course you are going to have issues. So the reason why this num is working is because this num is above it. Okay, all right. So that's basically it. That's what a variable is, and assigning it is just what you have seen here, using the equal to sign to assign it a value. In other languages like Python, I think there are ways for you to initialize variables and not even give them a value. Like I just say let num be equal to nothing. That doesn't happen very often in Python. When you initialize something, you want to assign it immediately in Python. Okay, so like if you are reading some other things, they want to explain to you what initializing is and why assignment is different from initializing. But I don't think Python has all that stress, so we could go on. Everything you are seeing in the notes is just what I've been talking about. Okay. Also, Python allows you assign variables to certain operations you have carried out. For instance, instead of saying num is equal to 3, num2 is equal to 4, and then print num1 times num1, I could simply say something like just do 3 times 4 immediately. Okay, let's try this and see what happens. Are you seeing that it carried out the operation 3 times 4 and then it printed it out for me? So this is also possible in Python. All right. So this is how to assign values. Okay. You call what the variable name is, and then on the right hand side of the equal to sign, you tell us what do you want to be there. Okay. So this is what variable and assignment is all about. So the next important thing I need to talk to you about is data types, operators, and expressions. Okay. Now I want to state something here that as the class progresses, if it gets a little bit complex and I'm still talking, you can just write on the chat and ask a question. I will definitely see it. Okay, right. But I will get to the point where we can ask any question at any point in time. Okay. So what is a data type? So when we went back here, you can see that I've been dealing with numbers all along. But a data type is just simply types of data that are acceptable by a particular, if I should say, program or programming language. I said programming language because different programming languages may allow different kinds of data types. So we are doing Python here, and I want to stick with only Python data types. But generally speaking, what you are going to see is a way to classify numbers, a way to classify decimals, a way to classify, should I say, words, okay? And then after that, we start dealing with what I want to call, how should I call this now? Again, let me just use the word buckets, but the idea is that there are certain data types that are used to convey a large number of other data types, okay? So let me go step by step, and then I'm going to try to use this note to explain what I mean to you. Okay, so what is a string? What is a string in Python? A string is simply anything, believe me, a string is anything that has these two things wrapping it. That's what a string is. Generally, we want to use letters and words for this, but believe me, I can also do 2, 1, 2, 3, and in Python, this qualifies as a string. So let me run this. Are you seeing 1, 2, 3 is coming up? Let me add 4. Now, this 1, 2, 3, 4 you are seeing, even if it prints out like this is not thought of as a number in Python. Like in the mind of the computer, this is actually a string. Okay? So, but many times when we do something like this, what we want to write is, we want to write words, we want to write letters. All right? So, yes, you can see rest here. Okay? So, I think there's there's a way to check out the type of a particular variable. I hope this works. Okay. Are you seeing it? So this tells us that this is from strings. I don't want to talk about classes, but yes, this is how it is. All right, so let me type that 1, 2, 3 again, so that you'll be able to tell what it is. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Are you seeing it's still a string? All right. So a string is basically anything that has these inverted commas around about it. I also want to say that you could use either a single or double quotes. It really doesn't matter too much in Python, but I will advise you to stick with one. You'll find out the reason very soon, right? But bluntly speaking or clearly speaking, the reason is because sometimes I want to do something like this. Let me write something like I am coming. Now I have a problem because I am using single quotes. Right, because I'm not able to. Are you seeing this? Of course, there are ways around it, but that's one of the reasons why you should just stick to either single or double quotes, right? So if I'm using double quotes, I think that it shouldn't have that problem. To be able to identify that, okay, you are going to close it with another double quotes, and so I'm fine, right? So it wouldn't complain anymore, okay? So yes, this is one reason why you should stick to one. And my advice is please always use your double quotes, okay? So that you don't have issues. All right. So this is basically what a string is. The next data type I want to deal with is integers. All of you who did mathematics understand the basic difference between integers and what we like to call decimals. Okay. Also in programming, we try to make that distinction very clear. 1 is different from 1.0 in programming. So how do we differentiate those? We differentiate it by saying integers are integral numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They don't have a point, okay? They don't have, those other numbers that come after the decimal. So these are called, are you saying it? This int here. So this is the type of it. It's called an int. So this is the second data type you want to get used to. Okay, so let me do the other one called a float. This is 1.0. Let me see what happens. It's now a float. So in your mind, maybe you're a mathematical person and you know very well that 1.0 and 1 are the same thing. Yes, it is true. Okay, but that's mathematics. And you want to tell the computer, I remember when I was learning in primary school, someone said garbage in, garbage out. What the computer was made for is what it was made for. You are the intelligent person. You should actually tell the computer what to do. Don't assume the computer will understand what it doesn't understand, right? So please, a float is different from an int. Just so you take notes, all right? There are some problems you may run into if you try to use floats and ints together. But some of them have been handled, but to avoid problems, you should understand the difference. What I mean by that is, for instance, let me do something like 5 divided by 1. Okay, so 5 divided by 1, are you seeing that this is like integer divided by float, and the result is now a float, even if I've not. Okay, let me do something. Let me print the result for you so that you see it. Now I have to even stringify it, and it's giving me issues. Let me see if I could. And I think I'm already doing some things that is above your head, but let me try. All right, I don't know if this is going to work. Yes, okay, it's not working because I can't use type and string together. So yes, this is also one of the reasons why you should understand data types. The idea is that these two things are not the same. Okay, one easy way for me to, because I just want to see, that's what I just want. Okay, but you can only add things that are similar in data types. Like I can add 2 strings together, I could add 2 numbers together. Okay, so I will get to operations very soon, but yes, it's important that you note this, that as you you do different operations, that you can only use them under certain conditions. All right, if I just want to print, like this is actually what I wanted to see. One thing I can simply do is for me to just go over again and be like, okay, print the type for me, and then also I want you to print the value of num also. So this is something we can also do. All right, so the first line prints the type, the second line prints num for us. I believe you can see this. So yes, this is it. All right. So the next kind of data type I want to deal with is booleans. Boolean simply is true or false. Okay. Say something is true. Sorry, I think I have to use uppercase. Yes. So this is what a boolean is. Boolean is either true or false. Like there are only two possibilities when you are dealing with a boolean, either true or it's false. Okay. So this is how it is saved. Bool, B-O-O-L. Right, this is what a boolean is. So these are all the basic data types that you will need in Python. But I think, I don't know, because some of you seem to be moving on very fast with this. One of the things I would like to do is to just talk about the other things you will meet in front of you very soon, which are, what should I call them now? I think some people use the word abstract data types, but let me just say they are more, I don't want to use the word complex, right? But the idea is more advanced data types that you could use to do a lot of things. For instance, there's what we call a list in Python. Some languages we call it an array. The idea of a list is that it lists out things. Like I could, if I want to save plenty numbers together, I could do something like 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is actually a list, right? Are you seeing it? Saving a lot of things together. So this is a list. There's also another thing called a dictionary. A dictionary is a key value pair. How do I do this? Let me try. So let me show you something like this. A dictionary is done with curly brackets. Let's say I want to save people's name and age together. Right? I could say something like Ojo. First of all, a key you need to decide what will the keys be and what the values will be. I will say Ojo. And then the next thing will now be what is the value going to be, and then you want to put the value and put whatever you think the value is going to be. You use a comma, you go on to the next person and you do Emma, right, and then you write the age. Of course, at the final point you don't get to put a comma, so comma is to separate each of the values. This is a dictionary, and it has, many of them have their own rules. So this is a dict. Okay, they have their own rules, but I just wanted to show you that there are more complex data types than what you are aware of. Notably, list and a dictionary. Every other thing that you see is probably a result of these two things I just showed you, because we have a set that retains the mathematical definition, basically saying that things are unique. I could do 445 in a list, but in a set, if I do 445, it would become 4 and 5 again, because a set only allows unique elements. So yes, these are more abstract data types you should take note of. But again, this is a basic class, and I don't know. We may not get into anything as complex as this. But it's important for your knowledge that these kinds of data types exist. Okay, so this is what a data type is. A data type is a type of data. Okay, what are the types of data that we're dealing with? So that's what this particular topic is about. Okay. All right, so the next thing I would like to show you, I don't know if it's in this note, I don't think it is operations, how to deal with operations. Now, I believe many of you believe that, we already know how to do these things. But please, I want you to take note of it, that in programming, it gets a little bit complex. This is a very good thing to do. Let's go on this. I've done something like this before. So, yes. So the reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to show you how complex this thing could be. So let's say, for instance, I've been using num. Let me change it. Let's say I want to call this add data. Yes, right. Add data. Right. So I could add two strings together. I think I've already shown this when I was dealing with strings, but it's important for you to also get to see it again. Right. Let me give a space in between, and then let me change my guide to add data. Good, right? So this gets to work. This is hello as a string, 5 as a string, and it works. Okay. But if I do this other one, I think that's what happened when we're having that type error. This is not going to work, and my ID is already warning me with this yellow sign, telling me that this thing is not expected. It's not expected. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted all of us to use PyCharm. Okay, so there's a problem, right? But if here is also an integer, it is going to work. So this is an operation. Okay. Now there are multiple kinds of operations, but I want to introduce you to a few of them. I think this is a good place to use that thing I was telling you about, a docstring. So a docstring is basically, it's the same thing as a comment, but it's for extended things you want to do, maybe explaining something that is long inside your code. So this is what we use docstring. It's, once again, it's for the programmer. You won't see what is like the compiler will not compile the code, but it's for the programmer to read and be like, hey, what is going on here? All right. So for now, what I want to show us is all the kinds of operations that are possible. We have addition, we have subtraction, we have multiplication, and then we have division. Yes, I think division is just simply this sign. Okay. There's also this other one we call modulo. I will explain to you what it is. This modulo sign. Which other one do we have? When I get to conditionals, I will show you some other things. But yes, these are most of the mathematical operations. Even if they apply to strings also, you want to understand them from a mathematical perspective so that it's easy for you to apply to other things. Okay, so I just added strings together. You have seen that play out. Let me come back. Let me try to stick with numbers, and let's see how that plays out for you. Okay, yes, I think I missed this one, exponential. This is just basically raising to power. I think many of you know this already. What else? I've already done this one. Okay, we are good. Performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation. You could go after this class. You could go back and try to play around these things. But yes, this is basically what it is. All right. So let's print something. Let's print 10 plus 5. 10 plus 5. I think all of us are expecting a 15. So let's see if this works. All right. So let's say 15. So this is us adding two integers together. Let's do 10 times 5. All right. This should be 50. Okay. Yes, this works as expected. Let's do 10 minus 5. All right. This should be 5. So again, this works as expected, and plus, minus, multiply. So let's do 10 divided by 5. This should be 2. Okay, so now it now goes 2.0 as a float. I hope you're noticing this. And sometimes, based on how complex what you are doing is, you may want to force it to become an integer because of other operations. But one reason for this is because of the way computers think about division. I don't think this is a good point to confuse you with all those things. So yes, but yeah, even if what I did was an integer, it has returned back to division because computer is not able to process division the way the human mind will. To be like, oh, 5 can enter 10 two times, 5 times 2 is 10. That's not how it processes it. It actually does binary conversion under the hood and then has to bring it back. And the most efficient way for it to do that is actually, giving it back as a float to us. Or let's say the most accurate way is bringing it back for us as a float. So yes, this is one of the reasons, and it's good why you should also probably be friendly with this type of operation if you are having like this type function here, if you're having issues with what the type of data you're dealing with is. Okay, so I think the next thing for us to do is let's do 10 modulo 5. 10 modulo 5 is just a way of saying remainder. Again, all the math people will be very happy in this meeting because it's all mathematics. So 10 modulo 5, let's see what this is. So yes, the reason why is because if I divide 10 by 5, it goes into it 2 times and there's no remainder. So yes, it's only the remainders that should come in. So that's what modulo actually is. It tells you if there's a remainder. This is very important operation. Please don't forget this because one very common thing they will ask you if you are writing algorithms or programs is, for instance, I can say find even numbers. One easy way of finding even numbers is to say, oh, if the number divided by 2, number modulo 2 doesn't have any remainder, that means it's an even number. So yes, so this is what one of the things we use modulo sign for. Okay, all right. So let's do exponentiation. I don't want anything very... Okay, can we do it? Please, let's not do anything complex. Let's just do 10 exponent 2. All right, so this should be 100. Yes, so this is 100. What this means is 10 times 10. If I do 3, it will be 10 times 10 times 10, 1000. You can see that, okay? So I've exhausted this for mathematical operations. And what I meant by that is I've been dealing with numbers all along. Each of these things actually has implications when you are dealing with strings also. Okay, so I'm going to leave that out as something you want to try out on your own. Also, because it's not something that's very common, but it's good that you know. Okay, that yes, we could actually add strings together. What will Python do if I try to subtract strings? Will it even work at all? So if for instance maybe somebody's asking here, will this thing work? Will that thing work? Will that thing work? Just carry your ID and do it and see if it will work. Stop. All right, that's actually the way to learn it. Okay. I think I've talked for a very long time, and it's a good time to ask questions. Please, if you have any question, this is a good place to ask. Does anybody has questions at this point? All right, please go on.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think I'm getting a grasp of it properly. Thank you. So now, the question is that sign that you called modulus, it's not percentage sign. So when we want to now do maybe percentage on our code, what do we now use?
Okay, so percentage in mathematics is like basically dividing by 100. Okay, so when you are writing code, you are supposed to actually divide it by 100, right? Except there's a point where you can write a function to do those kinds of things for you. But if you want to represent it to a user, say for instance, I want to print 100%. One thing you can do is to attach the percentage sign as a string to the particular number you are dealing with.
Oh, okay. So it serves as a percentage sign as a string, but as a modulus when it comes to integer.
Yes. Let me share my screen and try to show you how this will play out. Let's say I want to print out percentage. So in my understanding, the goal here is to print out percent. That's what I understand. Okay, so now that we have done, please confirm to me that you can see my screen again.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, all right. So let's say I have add data here, and this is 100. Okay, but then I want to add percent to it. One thing I can do is to say stringify add data. So what this is going to be will be like str. So this str is a function that we use to convert anything to a string. Right. So yeah. Let me print it just to make sure that it is still doing the same thing. Str add data. So it's still printing 100, right? You can see that it's printing 100. Okay, so one thing I can do here again is to say plus this percentage sign. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, so it's now printing out 100%. So once you put this inverted quotes around anything, just know that it's not a string automatically. It doesn't matter what that thing is. It's automatically interpreted as a string at that point. Okay, so in programming, it's not it's not a word processor like Microsoft Word. So the idea is that you want to carry out actual functions, actual processes. You want to give instructions to the computer. And so if you are giving an instruction to the computer, and you want to tell the computer this is a percentage, you then have to know what a percentage actually is. Okay, you cannot write 20% and expect the computer to do 20 divided by 100. You want to tell it 20 divided by 100 itself. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
yes,
that. Okay. Does anybody have any question again?
Yes, I do. So my PyCharm ID is not giving me what I want. I don't know. It's showing me no Python interpreter configured for this.
Yeah, I think you have to install a Python interpreter. We could talk about that. Maybe you share your screen, we run through it together, something like that. But yes, I think that's something we can do off class if possible.
All right, sir.
Okay. Okay, Emmanuel, so far, do you have any question on these things we have done?
No, sir.
Awesome. So, sorry, this is Java. So, what I want to do now is to mark the points where we stopped and continue from there tomorrow. It's almost 10 minutes to 9, right? So, and actually, we have actually done most of the things. Okay, but tomorrow I'm going to continue from here and then probably try to deal with a little part of Git and GitHub so that you can learn how to push your code to GitHub. I think everybody on the call now has a GitHub account. I believe so. Okay, so we can practice moving things to GitHub and things like that. Okay, so I want to encourage you to finish up the readings and let's see how it goes. You should be an expert programmer at the end of 5 weeks, right?
All right, sir.
Okay, have a great night. God bless you.